Good morning, comrades. You are listening to WHIV-LP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly Good Morning Comrade. Jeff and Robert here on the show. Robert, how you doing, buddy?
I'm all right, man. Recession indicator. I inherited an Xbox 360, so I have been pirating Xbox 360 games, and it is something else to play video games that don't have like a shit ton of microtransactions in them. It is quite liberating.
Well, good thing it only took you 40 some seconds for the curses.
Oh, my bad. I thought I was still on Twitch.
We are, and also
you can have freedom on Twitch.
No, we're under the shackles of Donald Trump's FCC. So here we go.
But yeah, I have been.
Is it even working on a government shutdown though?
Who's that? What? Oh yeah. It totally is.
Oh yeah.
No, 100%.
Anything policing anything, sure.
100%.
Anyway.
Oh, I got a funny story. No, real quick. New Orleans politics. So I'm not going to disclose because I actually currently like my job, but I work a city job that I am considered an essential employee. But we have found out here in New Orleans that they're having big old budget meetings because the city has been paying their city workers out of FEMA funds. How does that work? And now they're saying they might not be able to make payroll.
I saw that.
Guillotines. That's what time it is. Boy, if you see something happens, you'll know. You'll be like, yep. He crashed out. Because that's crazy. Somebody needs to go to prison. Yeah. Because you can't pay city employees out of FEMA funds. Where's the money, Lebowski? Whatever, man. All right.
Forget about the toe, man.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you for joining us. We have a very special guest today, Conrad Cable. Good evening, good morning, Conrad. He is coming to us live from Farmerville, Louisiana, where he is actually in the midst of a campaign against the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Tell us about it, man. Tell us about yourself first.
Yeah, well, for everybody in New Orleans, where you at? For everybody else out there, hey, y'all, how you doing? My name is Conrad Cable, and I'm the farmer from Farmerville. And on Labor Day this year, I announced that I'm running for the Democratic nomination for Louisiana's 4th Congressional District. And y'all know that's Mike Johnson's district. So I'm up here in North Louisiana. Farmerville borders Arkansas, but I absolutely love South Louisiana. I was in 4-H for 8 years, and I did a lot of activities and things all over the state. And so I just met so many incredible people. It showed me from a young age just how diverse and how amazing our state is. And, you know, my wife and I love to visit New Orleans anytime that we can. I love the city.
Yeah, well, just go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience here, and we can talk a little bit about your upcoming campaign, or your ongoing campaign, I should say.
Sure. So my brother and I, we own and operate a vegetable farm, and that is in Marion, Louisiana, and my folks have lived in Marion, Louisiana for generations. I'm really lucky because I get to farm on my family land, and so I get to see my folks every single day, and family is something that is really important to me. I mean, my wife and I, we both have college degrees. We could have moved anywhere that we wanted, but we really wanted to stay in Louisiana because our family means a lot to us. And we think that, you know, having children, it's so important to raise them in a village surrounded by people who love them, not kind of isolated off somewhere. So whenever I lost my job during COVID in 2020, my brother and I had been farming part-time for about 3 years. I started as a backyard gardener and who loved having fresh chicken eggs in the morning, you know. But I made it from the farmers markets, and whenever I lost my job, I didn't want to go work for anybody else, and I've had some bad bosses, you know. And
do they come any other way?
What was that?
Do they come any other way?
Look, I try to be a good boss, but you can talk to my brother one day, and maybe he'll tell a different story.
He's
And
coming on next week.
and look, and I say that in Congress, I can work with anybody that's up there because I've run a business with my brother. And look, once you meet my brother, he's a character.
Mhm.
He's the one who hunts all the rabbits out at the farm. And once he moved out on his own, I was like, how did you become more country? But it's kind of funny. He lives in a little bitty community called Truck Snow. But anyways, y'all,
Truck snow?
yeah, Truck Snow,
That's awesome.
Truxno. And
Okay.
um, I'm not one of those farmers riding a tractor every day. We're a vegetable farm, and we're growing mainly like salad mixes, leafy greens, root vegetables. Carrots are our number one crop, and plus we do all the seasonal favorites. So
Mhm.
our first season of our subscription service just kicked off this week. So yeah, I've been harvesting a bunch of like radishes and salad and things like that. So
Mhm.
it's something that I was personally called to do because I love feeding people. And I think that because my grandmother owned a cafe in our little small town of Marion, that I got that. But whenever I was, from the time that I was in third grade to the time that I was in eighth grade, I had a big garden every year, and that was how I made money. My parents, whenever I wanted to, let's say, get into baseball and I wanted a pitching machine so bad, they're like, "You're going to buy that yourself."
Mhm.
So, um, one summer, I did a 4-H community service project, and all of the produce that I grew, we gave it away to people in the community. And so it's people that we knew through our local church, people that my mom knew because she grew up working in a cafe in town, and
Mhm.
so she knew everybody. But I got to see firsthand, whenever I was just in sixth grade, just what rural people struggle with in accessing fresh and healthy food.
Mhm.
And there were often times whenever people would have me come into their house and put those vegetables in the refrigerator because they were in wheelchairs and they weren't able to even like get up and open their own door. How can we expect these people to drive to a grocery store? So
Mhm.
I have really, a special place in my heart for rural communities. And, District 4 is 45% rural. And I think that one of the reasons why Democrats have been losing is because we have lost the ability to talk to rural people and to
Mhm.
have solutions to their problems that can make their lives better on a day-to-day basis. And that's what I'm trying to do with this campaign is to look out for communities and for people. And it
Mhm.
goes like if you go and check out my priorities, it's not just solutions for rural people, but I
Mhm.
think that our priorities are all rising tides that lift all the ships.
Mhm.
Because as Senator Wellstone said, uh, when we all do better, it's better. Or it's better when we all do better. I'm sorry, I messed that up.
It's all right. Oh, so I do want to kind of drill down, and Robert, jump in if you want at any point. But you just decided to step up and run against the, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and you are like what made you? And by the way, if you're listening, Mike Johnson, come on the show and debate us. Come on, I dare you. But
We have to say that by FCC
but
regulations.
also if he
That'd
wants to
become
come on the
a
show,
little
that's lit.
inside baseball.
Hey,
That'd
Let's
be
do it.
from what
hilarious.
I understand, he loves debate. So
Yeah.
who
Come
knows?
on, debate. Meet us on the battlefield of ideas, Mike Johnson. But no. So, like, I guess what was the
Easter
thing that
strength.
inspired you to run for Congress? You mentioned the Democrats and how they've lost rural America, but also like, I don't know, they've lost pretty much everybody because they're just a bunch of like feckless. This is how my analysis: a bunch of feckless losers who are essentially, servants of capital. But I don't know. Tell us what made you want to run for Congress, and why are you doing this, and what's going on here?
Yeah, well, I've been involved in food policy advocacy through the Louisiana Food Fellows Program, and then also the Louisiana Sustainable Agriculture Coalition, now the Louisiana Small Scale Agriculture Coalition. And so I have been a huge advocate for the SNAP program for a long time. And a few years ago, I was invited to be a part of a delegation of small and medium-sized farmers who went to Washington, D.C. to lobby for the Farm Bill. You know, we haven't passed a Farm Bill in 4 years.
Right.
And we met with the entire Louisiana all the representatives.
I'm sorry, one second. Just let me pause it really quickly. What essentially the Farm Bill is, by the way, in this country, the way that we essentially create farming in this country is through subsidies by the government, in no small part. Just to sort of like put that out there, because people do love to talk about capitalism. We need to make sure that we have a sector of agriculture, and that is in part subsidized by the government because it's such a huge priority. We gotta underscore that.
Absolutely. And the thing about farming is that makes it different from any other kind of business is that there are so many factors that are out of your control. And so, I mean, my farm was practically destroyed in January by an EF2 tornado because with our weather becoming more erratic, we now have Dixie Alley in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, where we have more hurricanes. Seemingly every year, the average tends to go up. We average around, last time, I think it's 36 per year. But y'all, in 2022, there were 138 tornadoes in Louisiana during the winter. So, I mean, that's the thing that's scary is that, like, while there may be trends, there are absolutely more and more anomalies right now. And so not only does the USDA offer programs for recovery and mitigation through the USDA, but the USDA is also where all of the nutrition programs like SNAP, EBT, and WIC are funded through. So it's a huge bill. And like right now, they're talking about passing a skinny farm bill. And, you know, I think that farmers are in such a bad state in this country right now through Donald Trump's irresponsible and I think, you know, unconstitutional tariffs that he has imposed. And I really believe that farmers are owed a fat farm bill, especially with, and you know, I try to have empathy with people who have voted against their self-interest because whenever I was younger, I have definitely voted against my self-interest. And I think that we just have to, you know, continue to reach out and to educate and, you know, to be there for disaffected people who, you know, maybe one day they can wake up and snap out of it. But, you know, whenever I went to Washington, we had meetings with all of the Louisiana representatives in both the House and in the Senate.
Oh, buddy, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was wild. And mostly it was their staffers. But I had a meeting with Mike Johnson in his office with the door closed. I met his little dog, Lincoln, and everything. And I had one ask. I asked for some deregulation, y'all. I asked for it to be easier for small, medium, and regional farmers to be able to connect directly with SNAP, EBT, and WIC recipients. Because, you know, to be honest, those are people in my community, especially in rural Union Parish, Louisiana. Those are the folks that I want to serve. Those are the folks that I think it builds equity to have them included in the conversation about fresh and healthy food, because nutrition matters whenever folks get older, and especially for our kids. Y'all, 50% of the kids in Louisiana, or 50% of the SNAP recipients in Louisiana are children under the age of 18. And so if you want kids to succeed in school and do well on the ACT, like everybody wants them to, they have to have the nutrition for their brains to develop properly. And so,
and now look at how SNAP is essentially about to just disappear entirely.
And so, look, in the meeting, he told me it was bipartisan, and our campaign hasn't used it yet, but I got a great picture with Mike Johnson. in his office. But, you know, my ask was for deregulation. He told me it was a bipartisan issue to provide fresh, healthy food to people on those programs. And he said, quote, if anything, that's what they should be eating. And, you know, we'll take the they. But it was a little dehumanizing. But I was like, maybe he would listen. And then what do we have through the reconciliation bill but the most historic cuts to SNAP, EBT, and WIC, but that have ever happened. And so, you know, for me, like I haven't spent my life devoted to pursuing running for Congress, but whenever I started seeing things happen, like the dissolution of the Department of Education, whenever I started seeing things happen like Elon Musk and his cronies at Doge cutting $1 billion from farm to school and farm to food bank programs, of which our farm was a partner with Feeding Louisiana, the Northeast Louisiana Food Bank, and then that contract gets cut because all the money runs out. And I see the importance of like what happened with infrastructure here with several projects that got done because of the infrastructure grant that Joe Biden got done. And so I have seen firsthand what these really terrible and unpopular policies from what essentially I think that's coming from the Louisiana leadership in Congress, a huge part of it. I mean, they are absolutely complicit and they are pulled by, they have strings that are pulled by the executive branch. And it is the type of sycophancy that I see and the blatant outright corruption that I see. And the fact that nobody in this district had stood up in the last 4 years, I could not go into the ballot box one more time and not seeing an opposition that might, and not see Mike Johnson face some opposition. So I think that
that's why you're running.
But yeah, so you know, I think that I have the problem solving skills and the grit and determination that I learned through starting a farm. And I think that I have the deep roots of understanding Louisiana culture and understanding our values and understanding the solutions that working class people need from our representation in Washington. And I think that that's what makes me a good candidate. And I want everyone out there, before you just say, hey, this guy doesn't have a shot. Yeah, I know that we have a 10% chance of winning. You know, 1 in 10, if all the dice roll just right and everything goes our way, I think we come out on top. But this district is 40% Republican, 30% Democrat, and 30% no party. And if we can reconnect with a lot of the populist ideas that are frankly shared, that are just value shares that Republicans, Democrats, and no party folks have across the spectrum, I think that we do have a shot at beating Mike Johnson, because people want honesty and they want authenticity and they want transparency whenever it comes to their representative. And I think that I have more in common with the day-to-day struggles that people are facing than Mike Johnson ever could. Like, when was the last time this dude ever even bought his own groceries? And then he's in Washington passing legislation to cut the grocery bills of people who need it all over the district. And so I'm trying to take a stand against what I see as, frankly, tyranny. And
yeah. WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is Good Morning Comrade. Sorry, you were frozen there for a second, but yeah, we do need to. So you're running essentially to actually provide a voice for working class people. Robert, did you want to ask a question or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to ask a question. I want to give a small anecdote, because I feel like, good, bad, or indifferent, however this works out in the race, I think that the problems that American farmers, Louisiana farmers in particular, I can lay those problems, and I don't know those problems beyond what I can read. I don't feel it. I haven't lived it. I've never tilled the land, but I lay this dead at the feet of the Democratic Party. for writing middle American people off, allowing Donald Trump and the Republican Party to trick people into, not even a trick. They just thought that what we're going through right now, would never
Democrats
happen
made it
again.
easy for them.
Yeah, Democrats hoed the road for this. And I can tell you an anecdote. So I was an elected delegate for Bernie in 2016, and I was in the Philadelphia Convention Center. And I went to the LGBT. I went to every caucus like I could go to because I was excited to be there because I'm a policy nerd. And then
Lanyard.
two, yeah, I am a lanyard boy. Give me a lanyard and an open bar. And I'm there. Right? I went to every caucus I could possibly go to. I went to the LGBTQ caucus, and it was standing room only, as it should be.
It's what you would expect would be an ideal delegate for these kinds of things.
Yeah,
if you ask me back then.
But I went to this caucus. It was standing room only. Logo tried to interview me, and I'm like, I'm just an ally, so let that be known before you stick them. And they're like, oh, thanks a lot. It's not what we're looking for. I said, cool. But I'm telling you, this thing was packed, right? I went to rural Democrats. There were 10 people in there, and 8 of them were the people on the panel, plus me. And I'm like, this is the problem right here. I was like, if anything, every caucus, LGBTQ, African American caucus, whatever, women for Bernie, women for Hillary, should have said, got right up and marched himself right down to the rule and sat down and listened to what people are going through, because this is what matters. And it's like the idea, one of the things that they were talking about was how terrible internet services in rural America. And they were like, look, we have to pay oodles amount of money for satellite internet, and it's terrible. We need to have a new deal to where we're laying down fiber optic all across the land. And I'm like, this is why we lose. This is why y'all lose, because you don't want to hear these people. And then you wonder why they all turn their back on you. And especially in Louisiana, rural people, if you talk to rural Republican Trump voters, right wingers, whatever, the most racist weirdos you can find in the parish who are tilling the land. I'm telling you right now, talk to them for 20 minutes about what they do and about the land and the Gulf. These are environmentalists. And I'm like, they're the ones who are like, yeah, we really got to make sure the water's clean. Yeah, we got to make sure that the oil companies aren't poisoning the earth. And I'm just like, these are Democrat voters. Yeah, they're not going to agree with you on every single thing, but the things that they don't agree with you about, they're in rural America. They're not even going to clash, And I've always had this pipe dream of running for office, for state office in Baton Rouge, and going out there as somebody who didn't grow up in Louisiana and say, look, I don't know what it's like out here, but I'm here to listen to you. And the things that we disagree about, we might disagree on trans rights, but I would be like, the last time any of y'all saw a trans person, hold your hand up. Okay, so this doesn't even affect you. Great. And just let's talk about what we can do to make your life better here in Amite, Lafayette. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the other,
Northeast Louisiana.
Where's the paper mill at? Bogalusa. Let's
Bogalusa.
talk about how we're going to make your life better here. Don't worry about what's going on in New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Don't worry about that. Let's fix this. And it's you would win the state easily. And it's I just want to say, as somebody who's a former liberal who had this, kind of urban liberalized idea, I'm sorry that the Democratic Party has put you in this position to where you feel like you have to run for office here.
Our state party definitely struggles with recruitment. And it also struggles with providing candidates resources, But, I won't spend much time talking about the faults of the state party, but I want to make 2 points. The first is that one of the things I think that we all have in common with Louisiana, the only entity that is less popular than Congress in Louisiana are the local municipal water systems. And that is a common thread that stretches, that everybody cares about. And so I think that we need to be proud of the water that comes out of our tap. That seems pretty basic to me. And the second is, I think that for the most part, if you ask people, you would get a overwhelmingly positive perception of the local food banks, right? Everybody understands that, like, hey, this is an awesome thing that these people are doing, because we all, at the end of the day, regardless of what your religion is, in Louisiana, we believe in feeding people, right? We believe in feeding people who are hungry. It is core to who we are. And the some of the staff from the food bank told me an incredible statistic. So for the cost that, so for the price that the food bank can get just one meal into somebody's hands, SNAP gets 9 meals into somebody's hands for the same price. And whenever, I'm talking to conservative folks or to people who are like on the fence or no party, I bring that up because these are not like these welfare programs that people like to call them, or as a derogatory term, entitlements, or anything other than nutritional benefits. And what I think is critical is a critical human right. I think that we all have basic human rights to healthcare and to fresh water and to housing and fresh food. We live in the richest, most prosperous, and I think one of the greatest countries to ever be on earth. And I think that we can do better whenever the government works for working people for a change. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to point those two things out because I think that meeting people where they are and being able to have them have an understanding of like, hey, this is the type of infrastructure we can have whenever our representatives care. This is the type of quality of life that we can enjoy whenever we subsidize industries that are critical to develop sustainable local economies, right? And so I I just think that it starts with, providing places where people can be healed whenever they're sick, like local hospitals or even rural clinics. And I think we can go even further, and we can have the dignity of in-home healthcare for people. I think that too many folks die miserably inside of a hospital whenever they could, pass comfortably surrounded by their family at home, but cost, and I think that we can do better on so many fronts. And that's why folks can visit my website, Conrad, the number 4, Congress 2026.com. And you can check out my priorities. And, we may not agree on every single issue, but I'm asking folks if you agree with me on 50% of the issues that I'm talking about, because at the end of the day, they are economic kitchen table issues that are about making people's lives better. Because I gotta tell you, like, folks out here are surviving, not thriving.
Yeah. And looking over at that website, bottom of the hour, by the way, WHVLP New Orleans 102.3, this is Good Morning Comrade. Looking over at the your issues tab, I'm seeing some things: increase minimum wage, right to unionize, big one, Medicare for all, defend Medicare, Medicaid. These are for the most part, things like Medicare for all, for example, or unionization. These are popular issues that are somehow ignored by the sort of like Washington consensus and the leaders here in Louisiana, be they Democrat or Republican, quite frankly. And these are programs that would benefit working people greatly. Talk a little bit about your issues that you have here, because it really is sort of in line with sort of that the kind of the Bernie platform, essentially.
Yeah, I would describe myself as a populist Democrat, a New Deal Democrat.
Oh, in Louisiana, that's got a history, by the way.
I'm a fourth generation. Hey, how many of y'all ever been to a barbecue?
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm really inspired by the moments in American history, whether it's labor rights or whether it is LGBTQ rights, or frankly, I wish that the New Deal would have gone further in FDR solidifying the second Bill of Rights, right? Those economic freedoms that he talked about. But no,
We talked about that a number of times on the show with Harvey K and others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just think that from my personal experience with the fact that my family was pretty much saved during the Great Depression because of the CCC coming into town, and it gave all of my uncles and my grandfather a job during the Depression, and it gave us infrastructure, right? And I look back on moments in time whenever the government has made an investment in its people. And I think that we can do, I just can't say it enough. I just think we can do so much better for working people. And COVID, we kind of had a few bones thrown our way, but really, it's hard to think about a long list of legislation that has Democrats or Republicans have been responsible for, that has directly made working life better. And the last 10 years, those are few and far between. I'm really a big fan of Joe Biden's infrastructure bill that he got done. I think that we need more of that. And whenever these folks ask how we're going to pay for it, billionaires should pay more. Corporations should pay more. And I feel like I'm absolutely taxed to death. So,
and you're not a billionaire.
Look, I might be the poorest congressional candidate for office. I don't know. Y'all can go check out my financial disclosure on the FEC, but I am, about as working class as you can get. My wife and I make around $65,000 a year combined. And so I know what it's like whenever you have to choose between going to the doctor or going to the dentist. Whenever you have to choose about, some of your appliances go out, like your dishwasher, maybe you got to save up for 2 or 3 months before you can buy a new one. Or you're just like praying, man, I hope my car doesn't mess up this week. This is a bad week for an oil change, right? So, and, and I have to say I have a personal grievance because I've been priced out of Topo Chico.
Oh my gosh. Are you calling me out?
No, man.
Champagne socialist. You're water drinking socialist.
No, man. That's the bougiest thing about me is that I love a good bubbly water. But man, Topo Chico's almost $20 for 12. Man, I can't do that. There's like craft beer that's less expensive, man. Like, they're killing me. Whenever I used to drink almost a case a day back whenever they were $6.99. But man, those days are long gone.
Yeah.
Never coming back. I'm on like maybe some canned bubblies now.
Yeah, that's what we need to do. We need to bring the price of Topo Chico down so working class people can drink it. Robert?
Right. So, I just think that taking care of health, making sure that healthcare is not only protecting access that we have now, but expanding that access for people in the future is so important. It's so important to raise our wages so that people can afford and be able to raise a family here in Louisiana. And, you can't do it on $7.25 an hour, I got to tell you. And I think it is also important for us to really have a lot of conversations with these guys who want to talk about transparency and all of that crap. And then they are like literally the most blatant, corrupt guys that have ever, or not, I'm not going to say ever been in politics. I don't know, man. Donald Trump's grift on this, like on his crypto scam and the Jared Kushner Middle East deal and like so many. I think that, he's going to end up, his presidential library is going to end up having that plane. Oh, did I lose you guys?
No, you're good.
Okay, good. But yeah, I just think that, we have to weed out corruption, and that starts by reversing Citizens United. It starts by banning members of Congress from being able to buy and sell trade stocks. And I think that once they're done with their legislative career, that they can't come back to Washington and lobby. So there is, and Bernie talks all the time about campaign finance reform and all of that jazz. And like I'm in the belly of the machine now. And like, I mean, Mike Johnson, I looked up a few weeks ago, maybe like a month ago, that he had raised around $8 million so far in 2025. And then someone on my team yesterday told me it was 13. And I was like, how did he raise $5 million in a month?
Mm-hmm.
So,
when
so
billionaires are throwing money at you, I guess it makes it a lot easier, right?
Yeah. So it's a real David versus Goliath story. And I think that, I mean, you guys know about Louisiana. I think that is a metaphor that absolutely describes what we're going up against. And, I think that if you read that story, David refused the shiny armor that the king offered him, and he stood there modestly in his tunic and prepared for battle. So that's the attitude that I'm trying to have, is to, like you said, listening to what people care about and the issues that matter to them. And I think that is thoroughly reflected in our policy that we're standing on. And I'm committed to even adding more policy positions as I get out on the trail and talk to even more people, because like, I hate that there is a stigma of the 4th congressional district that we're a bunch of dumb North Louisiana rednecks. And it is not like that. Like, we have Evangeline Parish that has the highest number of Cajun French speakers in the state. We have Calcasieu Parish and Beauregard and Allen. We have so many parishes down towards Acadiana and then South Louisiana. So it really is a diverse district. It is a culturally significant district. And that's what I'm trying to portray to the country, because I think that Mike Johnson has given us a bad rap.
Yeah. And I would say too, even if it was, 100% you're correct, but even if the 4th district was just a bunch of dumb rednecks, it's still culturally important to the fabric of the state. And it's just like those people need representations too. People whose special neurospicy interest isn't politics. It's, I don't know. Have you seen the tractor kid who knows? It's like, this kid's definitely autistic on TikTok, who knows everything about tractors. Yeah. He knows more about tractors than I'll ever know. Nobody should know that much about tractors. So it's like, but that is an important thing to him. So it's like, not everybody needs to be super plugged into politics. They just need to have representation that's actually representing them. And it's, so what I would ask you is, not a emotional argument, because like, you'll find no qualms with me about the emotional argument of like, everybody needs a dignified life in America, and we have too much resources. It's will that people don't have dignified lives. What is the material argument that you would make to voters in your district that would get them to vote for you over Mike Johnson? What can you do for me right now if I get this guy out of office and put you in? Like, what is the selfish position argument that you would bring to them?
Yeah, the argument is that we are going to make your water cleaner and your internet cheaper, and we are going to make sure that whenever you have a medical emergency in your parish, that your hospital isn't closed and that you don't have to drive an hour to get care whenever you're having a heart attack. And I'm also talking a lot to people about just the blatant corruption, because that is something that we all share, and we want to, weeding out corruption is something everybody wants to do. And so what I talk to people about is, do you think that Mike Johnson considers, or what has Mike Johnson done in the district? That's what I ask people. That's how I've been approaching. And for the most part, people cannot give you a good definitive answer. I haven't gotten one yet. Sure. And that's asking conservatives and Democrats. And so what I'm trying to tell people is, hey, Mike Johnson is representing the people who give him a lot of money through his campaign, and he's representing the interests of Donald Trump. And right now, you are all being affected by the tariffs in these ways. And most of the time, whenever I talk to people about that, I talk about how my farm has been impacted through the tariffs. So people understand that they're being taxed to death. And whenever you can crack that egg and get them to understand that, like, you are paying the tariffs, sometimes you just want to shake people. And it's the argument is that we're bringing manufacturing back, right? Well, we don't grow coffee in the United States. And as far as like farming is concerned, we don't produce potash, we don't produce peat moss. And I use those so many, and things like azomite and green sand and so many different soil amendments that farmers use. We don't have that. It's not that we can't produce it. It's just that we don't have it.
And then when they throw on tariffs, the cost just goes through the roof.
Yes. And so, we're putting tariffs on things that are never going to be manufactured or produced. And so that's just another cost that Americans have to accrue. And that's why we're paying more at the grocery stores. And that's another thing that that everybody recognizes. And it's really tough to do things quickly concerning bringing down cost of goods as far as agriculture is concerned. And especially now because we have tariffs and importing any kind of food is difficult. But I don't know about y'all, but I feel like Donald Trump won because he talked about the price of eggs.
Right.
And the price of eggs had nothing to do with Joe Biden. It had everything to do with an infectious disease that was wrecking the egg layer population. And so they were having to cull millions of egg layers all over the country. And so it took a while to hatch out new birds and raise them up, because those egg layers, they don't grow as fast as those broiler chickens. They're not fully grown and popping out eggs in 30 days. It takes like 6 months.
So what would you say, and just to kind of drill down even further, and I mean, those somebody in your district that says, yeah, the price of eggs hasn't gone down. I'll give you that, Mike. I'll give you that, Conrad. But I like how Mike Johnson owns the libs. Now, they might not say that in that terms. They might say something like, I agree with his cultural values or something like that. But that's what we're talking about. So how do you... Because I try to have these conversations with people too, and that's the pushback I get. Because at the end of the day, they just like how it makes me sad that Donald Trump and Mike Johnson are in office.
I really can't say that I have seen any clip that I think Mike Johnson is definitively owning the libs. I think that whenever he is up there in front of the press, that he looks completely out of his element. I think that he looks nervous. I think that he does not deal well with any type of pushback. I mean, look at what happened on the C-SPAN call with the Republican military wife. He froze like he was from Alaska or something, man. Like, I think that Mike Johnson is absolutely in over his head, and he has a hold of the reins of an absolutely feral horse in the MAGA movement. And I think that, and we can disagree on this, but I think that the hardcore MAGA folks who give a dang about Mike Johnson owning the libs, I think that is less than a majority of the Republican Party.
Yeah, we're talking about the 30% floor of Trump support, which is
right. I would also point out in that as well, like, part of the reason that people go at least they own the libs is because both the Democrats and the Republicans have ruled out anything that even resembles real change in the world, making people's lives better. And when you have this, that ruled out as a possibility, well, you might as well make my enemies angry. At least I can be miserable, but my enemies can be more miserable. WHIVLP New Orleans. Good morning, Conrad Cable. What do you think about that part?
No, I think that man, I just don't get these guys, man. I really don't. Like, I really don't understand how Mike Johnson can use his power to make us poorer. And whenever these guys defend him, I really see a lot of the main defenders of his. I don't even know if I've never met anybody that has said, look at this way that Mike Johnson has owned the libs. What I do hear people talk about is Mike Johnson's beliefs and his Christianity
That's what I'm talking about.
And all of that, So what I have a problem with is like, and Jefferson wasn't perfect, but the three tenets of Jefferson, or of tyranny, according to Jefferson, was he gave us a warning to beware of warlord kings, the morbidly wealthy, and theocrats.
Mm-hmm.
Theocrats. Oh, my voice kind of cracked on that. I want to make sure I say that very clear. Theocrats. And I'm sure that y'all have seen the clip of Mike Johnson at the Republican, or not the Republican, but the prayer breakfast with the Moses story that he tells about how God told him that he was to become the Moses of the Republican Party. And I just think that that type of rhetoric is so dangerous, because it feels like he is one breath away from saying that he is chosen by God to be Speaker of the House. And so, like,
real Messiah complex stuff.
Right. So, like, I was raised in a Southern Baptist, I was raised in a Southern Baptist church. I graduated from a Christian private school in Monroe. And so, like, as followers of Jesus, like, his interpretation of the good book is one that I think goes against Louisiana values. And whenever you start digging deeper into people that may see his representation of his faith in the media versus the legislation that he is passing that actively takes away medical access to mothers and infants. I mean, in Louisiana, we have one of the highest infant and mother mortalities in the country, and it's unacceptable. And we have we're talking about healthcare cuts that are going to affect 1.5 million Louisianans. We're talking about SNAP benefits that go directly against.
I don't know if it's my computer or if it's StreamYard, but StreamYard be tripping.
Okay, go on, Conrad.
Oh, you can still hear him.
So
good.
So I think that whenever you compare this legislation that is passed with chapters from the Bible, like Luke chapter 10 or Matthew 25, and you look at what Jesus called his followers to do, it is the antithesis of, I slam my hand on the table. It is the antithesis of, the type of unpopular policy that the Republicans are pushing down the pipe. And I am very much, I have an English degree from
Jesus would not have cut Medicaid like that.
Right. And I have an English degree from ULM. And so, and this is also like through the English program at my Christian high school is through the books that we read, like Brave New World or 1984 or Animal Farm or any of those books that challenge the narrative. I am a staunch anti-authoritarian, and I think that Mike Johnson is the lieutenant of tyranny, and I think that that Donald Trump is absolutely out of control, and so many of the things that he is doing go against the America that I grew up with and that I came to love, and I absolutely abhor the attack on immigrants in this country, and I really wish that if there was a slogan, it would be to make Ellis Island a symbol again.
Yeah, I was smiling while you were talking about, religion and you're being brought up, only because I was also brought up Southern Baptist. So when people start talking about I was chosen by God, or what just passed is the whole the TikTok rapture thing, and I was like, y'all know, and I'll be, you're running for office. I'm not, but I just remember being like, y'all know that when y'all don't get raptured up, or y'all talking about God said this and it don't happen, y'all know y'all got to go after that, right? Like, your head is supposed to meet a rock. Like, That's in the Old Testament. I didn't write it. That's supposedly what y'all believe. So I wouldn't be throwing out how God told me to do this or God said this was going to happen. When it don't happen, you're supposed to go. But yeah, that's the kind of argument, the cultural thing. I think that, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not the running, but like I think that you're up against more than material thing, because I think like this is how Jeff and I talk about this on the show. This is how libertarians get born, because what Jeff is saying is like they believe that nobody's there to help them. Everybody's on the take. So of course I don't want to pay taxes because my tax money is just going to be, you're just going to steal it anyway. I'm not going to get any return on investment. And as long as I can punch down and like look at somebody else in misery that in my station is one step above them on the ladder, then I'm fine with it. And that's just such hard conditioning to break. And I think that's what you're up against. But I think just by attrition, you're saying you have a 10% chance to win. I think the more, you know, every day the Trump administration is, and Mike Johnson himself is leaving a door open for you to run through, almost like a Zoran Mondami, to where they're on a speed run to destroy this country. And farmers everywhere, not just in Louisiana, are seeing that.
Well, I'm a big sci-fi fan, and so you know, I love the Frank Herbert's Dune books, but I am a big fan of the new movies, and you know that the narrow path that Paul Atreides is able to see, like, and that's why I say, and maybe this makes more sense in Louisiana culture, but you know, if those dice we get a couple of good rolls of those dice, baby, I think that we do have a shot, and I think that I'm just country enough to be able to have a conversation and to find ways that we can relate to a lot of the no party people who feel disaffected by both of the political parties, and they are just looking for a leader. They're not looking for someone who bows down to special interest or the issue or the interest of somebody else. They want somebody who listens to their problems and somebody who talks about solutions that make their lives better. And that's what I intend to do. And that's what we have been doing.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
As we sort of wind down, I did want to, this is in response to somebody who came on the show months ago, but they're from Texas and they're very up on their Texas barbecue, and you know how they are. But I think now is an opportunity for you to talk about maybe, you know, why Texas ain't all it's cracked up to be, or at least the Louisiana kind of like counter to that, and then we can get out of here.
So I think that, you know, culturally, North Louisiana does have a lot in common with East Texas. You know, we love country music, we love camo, we love hunting and all that stuff, right? But I think that, and this is why I love food so much. I think that is one of the ways that we are really connected with each other.
Food is love. Food is love.
Yeah. And so and that's one of the reasons why I became a farmer, is because I love, I'm a home chef, and I'm the one who cooks food for my wife, Emerald, and myself. And I just think that food transcends any borders, and it gives us cultural identity. So making sure that that's why I love promoting seasonal eating. Like, you know, Satsuma season is coming up. I hear it's not going to be a great Satsuma season, so I'll be trying to get my hands on any that I can. I love that crawfish brings us together, right? And that everyone can gather around in a potluck style and build community that way. So while we have a lot of economic interest in that, you know, we have these oil companies and mega corporations like Meta who have been exploiting our resources and our people for what seems like generations now. And I think that we have so many cultural ties, even though, you know, there's the cultural or the Protestant versus Catholicism, and I learned a lot about that in my 4-H years growing up. But I think that in Louisiana, for the most part, that everyone gets the idea that we are supposed to love our neighbors. And from work that I've done with Hurricane Katrina, whenever Hurricane Katrina and Rita hit back to back, my local 4-H chapter was at the community center in Farmerville every single evening for what felt like 3 or 4 weeks, because there were people on cots in our community center for that long. And I really think that in Louisiana, we've been through so many natural disasters and corrupt politicians that as a people, we do want to look out for each other. And that is something, and that is a narrative that I am always going to advocate for and to believe in. Philosophically, I'm an optimist, not a pessimist, or else I probably wouldn't be running against Mike Johnson. But I definitely, and it could be a character fault that I give people the benefit of the doubt too much. But I believe that we have a lot of values, and I think that we love a lot of the same food, and I think that we all want solutions to these problems that will make everybody's lives better. And that's why, I'm running as a populist.
Conrad for Congress, .2026.com. Anything else you want to say on the way out, Conrad, Robert?
I'm good. No, I mean, the answers that I got from you are more than satisfactory. And like, I really did mean that. I don't mean that thing of just like, oh, best of luck. I mean, like, brother, just by attrition, by the way things are going, you can win this thing.
Yeah, and again, like the Mike Johnson is definitely going to win if nobody runs against him, right?
Right.
Like,
you don't win unless you run. So,
exactly.
My final thoughts is whenever, and I got to say that, like, after last November, I was hitting the hopium really hard. I never thought that Kamala would lose. I never for a moment thought that Kamala would lose. But whenever Donald Trump won, and I had my friends saying that, oh, Kamala will never win. But whenever Donald Trump won, I was depressed for a few weeks, but whenever I'm feeling down, I listen to Dr. John's "Let's Make a Better World," and that song always makes me feel better. So I also had to shout out Dr. John. I had the opportunity to meet him in Natchez a few years before he died, and he's one of my favorite musicians, and just had to keep the Louisiana love going,
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us on Good Morning Comrade, and thank you to everyone for listening. You can find information about Conrad's campaign at ConradForCongress2026.com, and follow him on all social media, Conrad for Congress. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Joining.
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally. And yeah, thanks to everybody for listening. We love you. Bye-bye. All right, cool. Hank, just have